Howdy folks, AJ coming at you again, your resident vintage gamer, and today's video is going to be a little bit different. Today's video is a several step process that I'm going to show for the people that are freaking the hell out about EverQuest Next. It's a multi-step process I'm going to show them on how to deal with it and just relax a little bit. Step 1, get yourself your favorite beer. Step 2, get yourself your favorite adult beverage here. I'm using some Island Lime tequila here. Step 3, pour yourself a shot. Step 4, do the said shot. Step 5, wash it down, chase it with a little something. And step 6, take a deep breath. It's going to be okay. Everybody calm down. Everybody is freaking the freak out about EverQuest Next. I suppose that the people that I am seeing on these different forums and on websites and so forth, and bloggers and everybody else that are just absolutely going batshit insane. I suppose these are people that are deeply entrenched in the existing model of the Holy Trinity, meaning you have your DPSs, you have your tanks, and you have your healers. And they're also entrenched in the lead you by the hand, the stupid exclamation point over the head or the feather over the head or whatever to say, oh, hey, there's a guy, he might give me a quest. He's got a thing over his head. And you go over and you talk to the guy and he gives you a quest, and that leads you to your next guy with a thing over his head, and then he gives you, and so forth and so on. EverQuest Next is not in any way going to be like that. EverQuest Next is going to say, hey, we're putting you in the world, go explore. Or don't explore, that's up to you. But let's say you go explore. You might, like Dave Jorgensen said, he said you might be walking down the road and you see a child sitting there on the road by themselves crying. There's nobody else around. It might prompt you to go up and ask the child what's wrong. And then all of a sudden you have a quest. There's no little stupid thing over the head or anything like that. Nevertheless, you have just organically found yourself something to do. Okay? And that might lead on to some type of a really epic quest line. Who knows? Who knows what? That's the point of adventure. That's the point of a role-playing game, is to find out what's out there and go. You don't need to be led around by the frickin' hand. You don't need guys with things over their heads to tell you, hey, I've got a quest for you. Da-da-da-da. You know, you just go out there and you explore and you do it. Okay? That's how it was old school. Okay? Another thing everybody's freaking out about is this Holy Trinity thing. Oh, we've got to have the Holy Trinity. We've got to have the DPS, the healer, and the tank. Got to. No, can't survive without it. Holy crap, what are we going to do? I mean, literally, if you go on these forums, people are freaking out. So, again, calm down. There were games around that were fun to play before the Holy Trinity. Okay? The Holy Trinity started with EverQuest, the original EverQuest, but there was Ultima Online before that. Okay? So, and there was smaller games before that, okay, which people don't readily believe, but there were. There was Meridian 59, and there was the original, what do you call it, in Neverwinter Nights, the original Neverwinter Nights, which a lot of people aren't old enough to remember. It was part of AOL. You had to have AOL to do it. You had to pay by the minute. Every minute that you were on, you paid. So if you played 50 minutes, you paid for 50 minutes of game time. And it was the original. It was way, way back. So anyway, so just because there's not going to be this, quote, Holy Trinity doesn't. And by the way, Star Wars Galaxies didn't really have a holy trinity either. You had master doctors, you had master combat medics, you had master droid engineers. You had all kinds of different things, and you could just throw a group together and you went out and you did it. You didn't have some guy say, "I'm gonna tank it, I'm healing." You didn't have that. You just went out there and you fucking did it. Okay? Excuse my profanity, but that's how it was. All right, you just went out and you had a freaking blast. Okay? And you weren't all anal about the Holy Trinity and all that other crap. All right? So, I can remember things in Star Wars Galaxies where they'd say, "Hey, there's a Gorax." Now, there's something that for the people that play Star Wars, there's a mind blower right there. Remember the Gorax? There's a Gorax out in the middle of, Tatooine or one of the other planets, and we're getting a bunch of people together, and they didn't call it a raid. They just said, "We need people, and we're going out to go and hit this thing." And then you'd have a Master Ranger set up a field tent, a Master Ranger field tent there for people that were wounded could come back to the tent out of aggro range. You'd have Master Doctors there healing people up in the tent because they got bonuses for being in the tent and everything else, and then they'd go back out to the front lines and they'd get back at hitting that Gorax some more. It was a freaking blast. You didn't have any Holy Trinity. So be prepared to actually use your imagination and have some fun. Now, the other thing that people are freaking out about is, oh, what are we going to do at Endgame? There's no Endgame. There's no Endgame. There shouldn't be an Endgame. It shouldn't even be called Endgame. It's a living, breathing world. They gave us a world to do what we want with, as opposed to a game that you go out and say, "Oh yeah, we're going to be the best, rating guild in North America. We're going to, progression guild and all this." No. You decide you roll up a character and you say, "Hey, I would really like this guy to end up having a nice keep with a tavern and a blacksmith shop, and I'd like to explore and find a nice area to set up shop there and have my little base of operations, and then maybe I could go out and do mercenary work or whatever." It sounds like in this game you're going to be able to do that. Okay? Jorgensen said that as opposed to EverQuest Next Landmark, where you're going to be automatically be given the ability to go out and stake a claim and build your stuff and all that, in EverQuest Next, you're going to need to earn that ability. You're going to have to, with some local baron or whatever, he or she will give you the ability. They will grant you a deed or a land grant and say, "Here you go, here's a land grant," and then you can go take that land grant and go claim yourself a piece of property and then build some stuff up and do whatever you want with it, because they're giving you the whole world building tool and everything to go along with it with EverQuest Next Landmark. And he's already said, there was an interview where he said, yes, you will have the ability to build things in Landmark and then transfer them over into EverQuest Next, provided that they meet the artistic guidelines. You can't have, a 20th century looking structure, in the Middle Ages type, in a high fantasy game. It just doesn't go. It's got to meet, as long as it meets those artistic standards, you can build your stuff, move it over. They said you can build stuff, and you could build towers, they said, and you could sell those on the marketplace to other players who might say, "Hey, I've got a nice castle, but those towers are really cool. I'm going to buy a couple of those towers." He buys the towers, puts them on, decides he wants to sell his entire castle with your towers, and then he puts that all up for sale. Not only does he get the money for the sale of the castle and everything else, but you get a royalty because you built the towers that he included in that package when he sold it. They've already said this. They've already said that that's how that they want that to work. And when I say royalties, I'm not talking about in-game gold. I'm talking about cash. Okay? So the possibilities are endless here. Okay? So everybody that's freaking out, it may not, if you are entrenched in the Holy Trinity, a defined endgame, a linear path where you have to be led around by exclamation point to exclamation point to exclamation point to do all your questing and all that, then this probably isn't going to be the game for you, unfortunately. Now, having said that, when it does come out, I think everybody should try it. Now, a lot of people will probably surprise themselves and probably really enjoy it, is my guess. Because it looks to me like it's going to be fantastic. So, anyway, get yourself an adult beverage. Relax a little bit, take a deep breath. And then I guess I should take my own advice because I'm getting all worked up here and trying to explain to people that yes, you can have fun even though it's going to be something outside of your comfort zone. You can still have fun. I, for one, can't wait to build my little Greyhawk keep off in the middle of nowhere and have my tavern and my blacksmith shop and build stuff to sell, and then decide, hey, I'm getting a little bored of building stuff. I'm going to go out and I'm going to find some adventure. I'm going to dig a hole in the ground and see if I can find an underground cave and see what happens. I mean, that kind of stuff just excites me because it's like, that feels like I'm creating my own adventure. I'm not asking somebody else to path it out for me. So, anyway, that's enough of my rambling. We will catch you guys on the flip side.